Record. Okay, and it's recording. Awesome. Let me just expand the panel so I can see everyone. All right, welcome everyone. Today, this brown bag is sponsored by our new pod program. We're the first one in line, and pod one, and presenting the how to use the Mutation Observer, the web API. Discovered it recently. It came out in 2025, so pretty new, and I just learned about that and used it to debug a pretty annoying bug that I'll talk about for NBC Universal, my client. I recorded a short video of the bug itself just to show everyone, but the bug itself, it was a flicker, 50 millisecond flicker that happened after the initial render on the production pages. And it left no traces. So we gave it a code name, the ghost. So this is the story of how we caught a ghost. Essentially, you could see that the initial render happens. We get the entire page loaded up, and then after about a second, we get the white flicker that happens over there, and then the page just returns to normal. If you look at stack tracing that I didn't show here, there is nothing significant that would tell you that, oh, this is the third-party library or something. So it led to wasting a couple days of chasing, looking at performance tracing, looking at network calls to see what's actually happening underneath. And realistically, there is nothing too evident that would tell us exactly like this is the issue or even give us a little bit of hints of what it could be. So measures taken of how to catch it was pretty much looking at performance tracing, network analysis, looking at third-party scripts and JavaScript that we were running. Ended up blocking all third parties, and that did help resolve the issue of the flicker. But on NBC, there is hundreds of them, so what's actually blocking it? Started doing it, blocking them one by one, had no luck, did ended up finding that Adobe launch script is most likely the cause, but it was such an intermittent issue. It would happen like one every 10 times. So to have enough confidence to prove that it was actually Adobe, you need to block it like hundreds of times. And I did end up doing that just to verify that I'm not crazy. Ended up potentially being Adobe, but we still didn't have the confidence and we did not understand what's underneath that's happening. So that's where the mutation observer and check visibility came in. Just to give you a little rundown, Mutation Observer is like a web browser API that notifies you about the DOM changes and delivers them async in batches. So each callback gives you an array of mutation records that describe what changed during that window. So a record includes its type, the child list for nodes being removed, attributes of changes, and character data for text. In my case, I kept the observer options pretty narrow when I was observing the changes because otherwise each mutation would be locked and it would be counterproductive to identify the issue. So I did the child list and subtree to catch just the injected elements, and I specifically singled out the added nodes, which is something you could track with Mutation Observer. And then I leveraged the check visibility to which answers a simple question of just geometry checks. Can the element be perceived by the user right now? So since it's a flicker issue, we can probably see if the element gets hidden somehow. So check visibility helped you track if there is anything covered the element that you're tracking. In my case, I tracked the H1 element, which was just at the top of the page. And if it's covered, it's probably the flicker that happened, and it'll notify the observer to start the action. That helped us narrow down the things. And after getting the flicker, which is intermittent, we were able to see that the observer that gave us two results. One was a span tag, which didn't really tell us much, but the second one was a script that's being run that's called uh, flicker control, enable flicker control. That's the name of the script. And that kind of tells us that enable flicker control probably has something to do with the flicker that's happening on the page. So we looked up the flicker control just on Google, ended up seeing that it's probably a parsley function called enable flicker control, and it's done so that you're able to A/B test the headlines, and we were using parsley, so that helped us narrow it down. Then the next action was to actually understand if we are able to override this function, set this true to false, and we were unable to do that. So then we went into our GitHub on MVC to see what's if we actually injected the script there, and ended up seeing that it's within the Adobe Analytics launch rules. Contacted the analytics team. They helped us disable this, and that ended up solving the issue. So that's kind of the process of debugging and discovering MutationObserver and understanding how to use it, and then leveraging it to find this flickering issue and solving it with it. Any questions so far before we go into the small demo I built? All right. This is a very rundown, basic demo, but I think it'll be helpful to kind of see how things work. For this basic React app, and I'm using the MutationObserver to and check visibility to track a flicker. So whenever we see a flicker, we get a notification that flicker was detected, and then it gives you kind of what's happening. What did we capture? We captured here two records, which are, I believe, different. But we'll be looking at the first one. And here you see that first line says detected, obviously. Second line, MutationObserver captured one record, and then you see the type child list. That's kind of the most important thing that we want to see. It's a child list means that nodes were added or removed from the DOM. So it captured a mutation and something did happen. And then this line here, target, would tell us that, oh, here is the actual target of the flicker, which is pretty much just where it was injected, and then what nodes were added. And added elements actually show you what was added at that time. Here is just a simple overlay flicker diff that I created just for the purposes of the demo. But in my debugging case, it was the span tag that I told you about, and on the second element, it showed that it was the injected script for the enable flicker control. Which helped us kind of investigate, oh, when flicker happens, we're 100% getting this script added, and then we were able to see what's causing it and get to the root cause of it. And that's about everything for the presentation on the MutationObserver. Let me actually go back to the presentation. I did create a very lackluster demo and QA slide in case anybody has questions on the demo, on the MutationObserver, or just anything else debugging wise.
That's very cool. Is there any other like usages that you could see besides like Flickr, for
Um,
example?
well, it could be not a flicker, but if you're seeing some random action that's happening on the page, like render happens, but then it compresses and it's showing only like the header and footer, that would probably be a node removal. So to catch that mutation, and we're actually looking at the same thing in NBC right now because that's happening as well. But yeah, the child list would tell you that these few nodes were removed and logged them. Obviously, for the script, I shared the script in the on top channel for anybody who wants to reference it. Kind of shows you how to do a basic setup of that. But you do want to be pretty tight on what you're tracking. Uh, like for check visibility, you could set it to the entire page so that it tracks any mutations. But for the observer, you do want it to look at the specific things because otherwise it'll log too much and become counterproductive. Um, Any other questions or topics? I did dive with this kind of investigation. I did dive into performance tools quite a bit. So if questions about that, I could maybe answer as well. They did not end up being helpful, but thank you, Vince. It was your help with sharing that performance video for New York Post. Kind of was a good intro to these tool investigations. Yeah, hope this would be useful for anyone running into potential issues like Flickr, since it didn't really leave any threats to follow and chase when doing the investigation, and was quite a bit of time wasted to understand the approach on how to look into it. If I knew about the mutation observer and check observability, the check visibility, if I knew about this approach, I would have probably been able to single it out within a couple hours instead of days and wouldn't have complained as much about the issue. So just hope everybody can take note and use it in the future.
So sorry, Alex. So just quickly, so that using this tool has saved you how much time do you think?
Um, well, on the full issue, I spent about 4 days, 3 days before we added a principal engineer to investigate as well. We wasted a day together looking at all the tracing, trying to understand what's causing it, and then there was nothing. We even went through uh, we went through a debugger to just go through each JavaScript call individually, and there was nothing evident that was causing it. So without discovering this, we would have probably spent even more time. But overall, the process was about 4 days. And after we discovered the this mutation observer setup, it took a matter of hours to just write a script to use it to look for these mutations, and then single out that it was caused by the parsley script, and then look into what's injected in the parsley script. It was one of the launch rules on GitHub for NBC, and then it was just a matter of contacting the analytics team and talking to them about disabling to actually 100% guarantee that this was the cause, and it ended up being the cause. So would have saved us a lot of time.
Great.
I'd actually noticed this a long time ago, like maybe a year or so ago, maybe two, and could not for the life of me reproduce it enough to tell anybody about it. So I'm really happy that you guys tracked it down. That's awesome.
It's very painful. It happens intermittently, and it comes and goes. We called it a ghost. Well, I'm the only one who calls it that, but I think the name is appropriate. Um, Pretty much, Parsley is done for analytics and I think marketing for news organizations, and I think we use it for A/B testing of the different headlines on NBC. And with it enabled, it sort of guarantees that with the enable Flickr control function, it guarantees that um, the headline will switch without any issues. But after disabling it, we didn't find any issues, and the Flickr was gone, and the Flickr was very evident. So the cost benefit was not there at all. Of course, it might have been a matter of just analytics script not being, set up fully properly. And after this conversation, we've actually talked to analytics to ensure that if they're adding something, there is some kind of regression testing done on the pages just to verify that they're not causing any crazy issues. Because this enable flicker control function itself was hidden pretty deeply in one of the repos. So we had to investigate into like the elements of sub-elements just going down the tree to find it. So if you see flickers on different pages in the future, know that you can use this.
That's awesome. I think that flickers are one of those things that happen when sites get too complex. So better than throwing it away and starting all over again for sure, right?
Yeah, it could be, hydration issues that are causing flickers. That was the first thing we chased. Ended up not being the cause. We even done some on purpose hydration issues. Uh, that was not the root cause of it. And the weird thing was only in production and local when you reproduce production. So not a lower environment. So it was kind of like, why is it happening there? Maybe it's ads. Ads was a big red herring that I chased for probably more than a day because right before the flicker happens, the page renders, the ad spaces do render, and ads get injected at that time frame. So I thought maybe that's the cause. So locally, we had to custom disable all the ads actually to see if the flicker is still happening. It was, so I had to keep looking.
And is this sort of flicker effect, does it happen often? Is it very
Happens.
common?
It was intermittent. Sometimes it would happen, which made this investigation pretty complex, is because it sometimes it would happen every time. Every like out of 10 times, you would get it 8 times, and it would be so quick. So to verify that you saw it 100% is you do the performance analysis and you slow down your CPU. So if the flicker happens instead of 10, like 50 milliseconds, it lasts for half a second. But sometimes if you so it happens 8 out of 10 times. But then when you start disabling the Adobe Analytics script, third party, that was actually the cause of it, it doesn't happen, right? Which is expected because you disabled the cause. But then when you re-enable it, the flicker is gone for like 20 times. So you're unable to actually 100% guarantee that it was the cause. It was gone because launch rules happen sometimes before the render happens, sometimes later. There was no like guarantee at what point that exact script was being injected. Um, you could of course guarantee, but with that setup, there was analytics didn't care about that. So the flicker was happening intermittently because of that.
Very cool. I had an issue actually with the Econify site that has a slight flicker on the news page when it like loads. It usually you can only really see it on mobile, but it does happen on desktop slightly. It's mainly having to do with use effects and use states and React hooks. I wonder if I can use this to kind of check the mutation to see like what's changing in what order, see if I can like get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, essentially, I encourage you to try it out.
Yeah.
Let everyone know how it works. I on topic, I added the script we used, so you could probably repurpose that. I feel like it's more or less generic. Um, but yeah, maybe. Vince, I don't know if you noticed, but Jason and David are heaven and hell.
I have not. I have not. I saw Jason's background, but I did not pay attention to David. Sorry, David. I can only have so many people on the screen at the same time, and in my small on my small Linux laptop. So,
By calling him Angel.
mhm. Well, thank you for the presentation. I'm sorry I was a little bit late. I will definitely pop on the recording and check it out, and we'll add that to our database of knowledge. So appreciate you sharing that, Alex.
Yeah, perfect. I thought it would be useful to share with everyone. Hopefully it'll save everyone some time. Yeah,
That's
thank
great.
you
Thanks.
for joining.
Do you mind sending me the transcript when you have a moment?